Tuesdays.
Here on Tuesdays. Keep holding on. Keep holding on. Look at you. Go ahead. Look at you vibing. Good afternoon, Nashville, Tennessee. It is the Yak, the Yolanda and Cornelius show. I'm one of your hosts, Cornelius, having in the studio today the lovely Alexis and Sade, sisters, y'all. Sisters in crime, sisters in Christ, sisters in the struggle. They are sisters bonded. They have come up together and have a marvelous testimony they need to share. But before we even get into their story, Sister Girl got a book.
That's right, I do.
Yes, Lord. What's your name of your book, Sister Girl?
The name of my book is called My Stones. And
My Stones.
Yep, My Stones. It's available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And it was basically a story about all the things that God tested me on, and I survived with His grace. So during the pandemic.
And you have survived. And we're going to talk about your survival and your survival skills. And Lady Alexis, what's going on with you?
Hello.
She never, listen, y'all, I've never seen her without a smile on her face. Like, I was walking down Publix aisle one day. I was like, that's little cuz right there. It's like, how you know? Because she's smiling.
Yeah.
I'll never catch her without, has she ever frowned?
I have my moments at times.
Very rarely.
I feel like I have my moments at times, you know.
Like, does she frown?
I haven't noticed lately.
Yeah, does she frown?
If she does, it's at house by herself.
Yeah, like
behind closed doors.
Maybe it's at home.
You do have a frown. Can you?
I do have one.
You do have one.
Yeah, I think we all do. Yeah.
You sure? You
Yeah.
have one?
I do. But I try not to let many things bother me so that it doesn't come out often. You know, like there's too many things to be happy and blessed with and thankful for just to walk around with a frown on. No.
Well, every time I see her, it's like she's chill, she's bubbly, she's encouraging. Let's say that. I love it. But y'all ladies have a story that needs to be shared with the public, and I knew that it took some space to get here. And before y'all coming in, you can call in 615-242-7760. That's 615-242-7760. We welcome you to Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Huntsville, Alabama, Houston, Texas, Miami, all those cities that are listening on the World Wide Web. Thank you for tuning in. For those on Facebook right now that have come in, and some people have chimed in. Hello, Tracy Stovall. Shout out to you from my lovely hometown, Winchester, Tennessee. Tracy, these young ladies are survivors, and we're going to have a great conversation. And this won't be the only one.
No.
This is the first of many, especially coming from Sister Cat over here.
Yes.
Yeah, from Sister Cat over here. It's going to be the first of many, and I'm grateful for that. So, hey, y'all. Chime in. You have questions, comments, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We are here. We are live 7:60 a.m. The Gospel. And this show is brought to you by Walker's Cafe and Grill, 109 Ewan Drive from 12 to 5. This show is brought to you by the Ephesian Primitive Baptist Church, 1506 22nd Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee. This show is brought to you by Trifold Outreach Ministries. I know y'all like, Pastor, you just talking. Told you I do this. 49 Dry Creek Road, Goodlettsville, Tennessee. And this show is brought to you by Forever Zion. If you need paparazzi jewelry for your boo, your bae, your subordinate, your significant, your cousin and them, friend of me, whatever they are, go to www.foreverzion.com. And then this show is brought to you by the health department, because we have somebody with us today.
Shout out to Metro Public Health Department, Behavioral Health and Wellness Division.
Okay, see, I got to learn that. I haven't learned that. The Behavioral
Health and Wellness Division.
Okay, gotcha. Shout out to that. Wonderful. All right, Sister Cats. Who wants to go first? Talk to me. Where do you start with this conversation?
Ooh,
where do you start?
We can really we can start far back, but I think they're just starting in 2020, the beginning of 2021, the beginning of 2021. Yeah, 6 months leading up to, the day that changed all of our lives.
And there's a day. Everybody has a day.
Everybody has a day. Yes. Hopefully not too many people have a day like this, but everybody
we
has
don't want them to have a day like this.
Yeah.
And that day was the day that drastically changed it all.
For sure.
Yeah.
Not just for us, for a lot of people. It's, when you pass away, you think about the impact it has on your immediate family. But when you are a light in this world, it impacts so many people, the masses, you know. So it wasn't just us that was impacted by her passing. It was the police department, the women's prison, like just all the people that she touched.
Right, and lives are still being touched.
Yes, in present tense. Yes.
In the present.
Yes.
You know, even in her absence, we are grateful for the touch still, and that's the thing. When you live a life, regardless of sometimes how we exit, you can still touch lives. I mean, I don't even know, like, it's silence. Like, Job's friends, you come, even when I have to deal with these situations, there's nothing you really can say. But y'all wear the experience and are going through it and being, you know, cultivated. You've written a book. She's going to be this great podcaster and broadcaster.
Y'all heard it first here.
Because she worked right. I'm putting it out there. So for everybody listening, y'all, who wants to tell about the date? Somebody talk to somebody.
You want me to go?
Yeah,
Okay,
you go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
So when I said that we hope that people don't have a day like this, it's not that we're not going to lose people in our lives. That's inevitable. We're all going to pass away at some point. But to lose someone by suicide, that's a different type of experience that is not one to want to have, or, you know, you don't wish that on your worst enemy, to lose someone by suicide. And so our mother, Tanya Moore Young, I'm going to reference her as Mommy, because I've always called her as Mommy. I don't call her Tanya.
Same.
Sade does too. She's Mommy. So throughout this podcast, throughout this interview, we will refer her to as Mommy. Yeah. But back in 2021, in February specifically, Mommy, we knew that she was dealing with a lot emotionally, mentally. She dealt with a lot of trauma in her childhood that she just never addressed. And so, of course, unaddressed trauma, unaddressed experiences, that travels with you through the rest of your life if you don't put an end to it. And so, and put an end by working through it, right? So in 2021, we had noticed that a change was happening in Mommy. She was in a toxic marriage. She was a primary caregiver to our grandmom. She worked multiple jobs, wore multiple hats more so at the police department. And so we started noticing that she was losing a lot of weight. She wasn't sleeping, you know, a lot of signs that we tried to hide whenever we were depressed or something like that. Those started manifesting physically. And so in 2021, in February, she came to her 3 kids and told us that she needed help. That's a lot for a mom who always wants to be superwoman. Not just supermom to us, but superwoman to everybody. I was took care of everyone. She needed help. She needed help. How I smile, I get it from her. No one ever saw her without a smile. It didn't matter what she was going through. No one ever, you know, saw that. So so we decided to help her. My siblings and I, we took on the challenge of seeing if we can save Mommy. And I do the fingers because realizing after this experience that we can't really save anybody. What we can do is support and help them. But it's up to them to save themselves. And that can be the hardest reality to swallow at times, especially whenever it's someone we love. So she came to us. We were like, all right, we're going to do this, this, and this. We're going to get you out of this marriage. We're going to change jobs. We're going to put you in a safe environment. We're going to show you what love is. You know, we've always loved her. But at that time, she really needed to know what love is. And so we were just pouring into her as much as possible. But unfortunately, that didn't work out how we wanted it to. So about 29 days before she took her life, and on June 9th, 30 days, in June 9th, she went to the psychiatric ER at Vanderbilt. That was the first time that we realized that she was having suicidal thoughts. Okay. We have never seen our mom in that state. She couldn't walk. She was crying uncontrollably. She looked like a woman who the world was just sitting on top of. And she was suffocating. Mm-hmm. And so that's when we first realized that she was having suicidal thoughts. But us not knowing what that even looks like or even how to deal with a situation like that, we did the best that we could. So we looked for resources. She got into a PHP program at Vanderbilt that she ended up dropping out of maybe 2 or 3 days later.
Maybe 2 days at the most.
2 days if that. Yeah. So she ended up dropping out of that program, and she said, well, I think that just one-on-one therapy would be better. So she made an appointment with a therapist for the first time. And we've been encouraging her to do it for years. So leading up to the day that she took her life, and I can tell y'all what happened with me, and I'd love for Sade to share her side of it too, because interesting that we're sisters, but we both have different journeys. So leading up to the day she was going to pass away, I remember on July 5th, the night of July 5th, I had a dream that Mommy was going to die.
Wow.
But I did not think too much about it, and I remember waking up like, okay, I got to tell somebody, and I wanted to tell my husband, but he was still asleep. I was like, okay, let me get ready for work, and I'll tell him when he wakes up. I never told him. I never told anybody on that day. July 6th, I remember my throat started feeling weird. My left lymph node in my throat was swollen. It was tender. I couldn't move my neck. It was hurting. I was like, well, maybe I'm just like catching something. July 7th, I finally went to the doctor to see what was going on. And she said, we don't know what you have. I tested negative for everything. She said, you definitely have an infection, but only time will tell. July 8th is the morning that Mommy took her life. And after that, the swelling started going down. It was the wildest week in general. But I remember the day before she passed away, Sade and I, and our brother, we have a great uncle who fell and hurt himself really bad, and they didn't think that he was going to make it. So we got that call on July 7th about that. And I remember calling Mommy, and I talked to her. She took a leave of absence from work to try to hopefully get herself together in a better space. And so July 7th was the first day back to work, and I remember telling her, and I was like, Mommy, it's wild. Like, life can change in a blink of an eye.
Yes.
They don't think that Uncle Gump is going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be super precious with the time that we have and appreciate that, because anything can change in a blink of an eye. And that was the last conversation I had with my mom. And when we were getting off the phone, she was like, okay, let me hurry up. I'm meeting somebody right now. I'm like, who are you meeting? Like, where are you going? She was like, I'll call you back. I'll call you back later. Lo and behold, I did not know that she was meeting my brother, my sister, my stepmom, and my future mother-in-law to plan my bridal shower, because she died 3 months before my husband and I got married.
Okay.
And so did not know all that was happening until after she passed. And then July 8th, I'd love for my sister to share what happened that morning, because the morning of her passing it felt like a movie for the longest time.
Yeah, for sure. So she was meeting with me. She was meeting with us the night before. We were all having dinner, planning her bridal shower. Secretly. And she was so excited about the shower. Like, I've never seen her she was just real adamant about making sure everything was right. Do you have this? Do you have that? And just like really prepared, like heavily prepared. It was 3 months out. I was like, it's going to be okay. I got you, So the night before she passed away, I talked to her about what she was going to wear to my sister's wedding. She had this big vision about the dress she wanted. We talked about what size she needed. She was going to get 2 dresses and pick one. I was like, no, just get the best size. It'll be okay. And so that was the last conversation I had with her that night before. And the morning of, the 3 of us woke up to a group text from her telling us that she loved us more than we'll ever know, and that we needed to get some of her belongings.
And sorry that she failed us. That was the last text message that she sent us. So that morning, I'll never forget, I was taking my kids to camp, just a regular life, and I saw the text, and I looked at it, I was like, I don't know what this means, but I'm trying to get out of here, so I didn't respond. A little bit later, maybe closer to 7, at this point, nobody could locate her. So we all were like, where is she at? She was working for the police department at the time, and they have training classes. So we just assumed that she was maybe at a training class for work. So it wasn't uncommon for her to be unreachable that time of morning on that particular day. So a little bit after 7, it starts to be like, okay, where is she? Like, I haven't heard from her. I was calling around. I had called her job at the time, and nobody knew where she was. She wasn't at the training facility. So yeah, it turned into oh gosh, where is she? I remember just scrambling, trying to call as many people as possible. I called her best friend from work, and she couldn't find her. And there's a couple of people that always knew where she was. And so it turned out that she had returned to her previous apartment that she was moving out of. She went back there by herself. She was in the process of moving, so the apartment was emptied out. And she took her life in that apartment, in her closet by herself.
She gotten up early that morning and apparently sent out multiple text messages, because I think we all got different sayings and different things, but it was like 6:18 that morning.
6:18.
That she
So that's
sent
a
it.
number.
Never
That's a
forget
number
it.
you'll never forget, huh?
6:18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we got the information. And I remember when I saw the text, I didn't respond. And I just remember saying, God, I cannot do this today. Because we had been through so much. And it was have you ever fought a battle you didn't know you were winning or not?
Of course, all the time. All the time. We have those all the time.
So with this situation, I just thought, man, God, I can't do this today. I don't have the mental capacity. I don't know if we're coming or going. And I just felt exhausted by it. And I remember seeing that text message and thinking, I cannot do this today. We're going to have to call for some help. So I responded in that group text. I said, if I don't hear from you by this certain amount of time, I'm calling the police. Because nobody could find her. And not only was that message too late, but it was, she had already passed by then. But I just remember thinking, like, feeling powerless and feeling like every tool that we had used. And a whole nother conversation is just how intimate and personal this was to her. We didn't have the ability to reach out to as many people as we had wanted to, because she didn't want to tell everyone what she was going through. So when we couldn't find her, that's when I said, you know what? We got to get some authorities. We're going to have to step this up, because this is bigger than me. In that situation, it felt like little children. Can you imagine a grown-up coming to her babies? I literally felt like a child. Coming to your mom, coming to you and saying, I need help. And at that time, I just felt powerless, and I was like, I'm calling the police if I don't hear from you at this time. And she had already passed. So.
Y'all say so much. I'm listening and I'm taking mental notes. You talked about providing the support. Mm-hmm. You did that. You were diligent and intentional about the support.
Yes.
But the outcome was not what you desired at that moment in time. How did y'all support each other through this? And how are y'all supporting each other through this? Because, Alexis, you say everybody is on their own journey or has a different path. I know you're the oldest, right?
She's actually, I'm the baby.
Oh, you know.
It's her, then our sister, our brother Jeremy, and then me.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are y'all supporting each other? I mean, suicide prevention, I know where we are as relates to some of the things that we do and what we see on a daily. What does support look like? What does that look like? What does it look like to say, hey, sis, we tried. Like, when did you even start grieving? Because you can't, or have you even grieved?
Yeah, I
have you?
Say,
I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely
because the
have.
shock, you in shock for so
long. For sure. We definitely did. Like, Sade being the big sister has always taken charge whenever there's a situation that she feels like she needs to. That's her personality, and I love that about her. The day Mommy died, Sade was already on the phone looking for resources for us.
Wow.
You're
that?
She's the researcher in the family.
Yeah.
Like the day of.
Yeah,
the day of.
Maybe hour max.
Did you?
I was on Google. I was Googling. I was pacing my driveway, calling to get help, because I also know where my limit is. I've never been a person that tries to be something that I'm not. And if I don't have the tools, if I don't got it, I don't got it. And I knew at that moment I had to have something quick, because not only am I the oldest, the phone call that I just got about what happened to her was on its way to my sister. It was on its way to my brother, my children. I knew that I had to act quickly. And so about an hour after that happened, I was talking to 3 counselors for suicide awareness and grief, because this is new. I didn't know what I was doing. So I called counselors. I talked to a guy from Healing Conversations. They are volunteers that have had immediate families pass from suicide. I was on the phone with a guy named Paul. I'll never forget it. And I told him, I said, hey, my mom just died. She just took her life. I don't know what to do. I hung up with him. I had a little bit more strength. I found a counselor. I talked to a counselor. People were trying to book me. This was on a Friday. I'll never forget it. They tried to book me to speak to them on Monday. And I told them, I said, I'm not going to make it till Monday. I need to talk to somebody today, because because I got people. I got to be strong for my family. So I had a phone call counseling session. I hung up that phone with that person, and by that Monday, our whole family was in group therapy for suicide.
We're in support.
The whole support, everybody was in a support group
We-
by that Monday.
We make the statement, and you just made it. I have to be strong.
Yes. I know.
I'm just being honest
Yeah.
right now.
I know.
And you being the sibling,
Yeah.
the
old
grand.
guys.
I think that's unrealistic, though.
Yeah.
Now looking back, now in
Oh,
that
yeah,
moment,
for sure.
what? Well, let me ask this question.
Yeah.
What does strength look like then? I just want to know, like, because where you need it, she might be totally different. You know, your brother is different, male, girl. You know, I have to be strong. Like,
Yeah.
I know that's a defense mechanism sometimes, and it helps us defend and ward off sometimes what we're really feeling. But when I sit with families and just sit, I've removed that totally from the vocabulary, vernacular, because in all actuality, what does strength look like?
Yeah. I could rephrase it and say,
No, you're fine.
Well, when I think about it, strength is not necessarily being able to carry something on your own. I think that strength is defined by being able to have someone carry it with you.
Okay.
You can be strong in needing support. And so
Okay.
when I say that I was looking to be strong for my family, I needed the tools so I could continue on and be the person that I needed to be, and also to share those resources with my family. So strength is defined as having that support. I need others around me to help build me up to carry this. So strength is, I need someone to carry this with me. Not saying I have to carry it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But-
were you able to find that, letting others help shoulder that burden?
Yes.
And what did that look like for you? And then I asked you the same question. So,
Yeah, so it's so funny because I got that from a perfect stranger. I had never heard of healing conversations before that
I
day.
still haven't heard until now.
It is through AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and Paul Augustiniak, who my sister was referring to, he is the Tennessee director, I want to say. He's amazing. He lost his wife some years ago, and he took over AFSP, and then they started Healing Conversations. So
Yeah, and I found it that day. I Googled. When I tell you I was Googling, like it was an out of body experience. I had never heard of Healing Conversations. I had never the whole lane of suicide was brand new to me. I Googled this toll-free number, and immediately I was talking to Paul, whose wife had also passed away by suicide.
So that day for you, your lymph nodes started.
So I mean, it kind of continued a couple of days afterwards, and then the swelling started going down. But the day that she passed away, like I said, it looked like a movie. So keep in mind that she worked for the police department.
Right.
By the time Sade and I were actually on the phone filing a missing person report when we got the news that she had took her life. So by the time I had shown up to the scene, I made it, let me tell you, and I'm not bragging about this, I made it from Mount Julie to Madison in about 15 minutes. I was not playing during rush hour traffic. So by the time I got to the scene, imagine like what it looks like in a movie. Like, you know, the tape blocking people from going in, detectives, multiple police officers, like all these people were impacted by this one phone call that mommy took her life. And so for the longest time, I continued to try to avoid that day and try to block it out of my memory as part of my story. So because of that, I started having anxiety attacks. I started having nightmares. I continued to hear the screams from that day. I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking I'm hearing a scream. And it took me a minute, it took me months to realize that the reason why I continued to relive that day is because I didn't want to own it as part of my story. I owned everything else. I accepted the fact that mommy took her life, but that day was haunting me because I didn't want to address it. So I had to go to therapy. I found a trauma counselor, and she did EMDR with me. Do not ask me what that stands for because I can never exactly remember what it stands for.
What is it?
EMDR.
I think I've heard
like
of it.
rapid eye movement type of technique.
Yeah.
Like I said, I never can remember what it stands for, but she had to do that with me, and it's a trauma desensitization, whatever that word is, desensitization technique that I had to go through to finally relive that day and own it as part of my life and my story so that I can continue to live and not feel attached to that. And so, attached to that day.
Are you not attached to that day?
I am, but attached in a sense where I feel like it owned me.
Okay.
I feel like it controlled me. It controlled every day. It controlled my dreams. It controlled how I was feeling in certain moments. So I no longer wanted it to have power over me. And it took me months and months to finally figure out that that's what was bothering me, was that day. So I had to turn it from a movie into reality. And ever since then, I haven't really had anxiety attacks.
Okay.
I don't have nightmares about it. I don't hear screams. Literally, after I took that, did the EMDR and some trauma therapy.
How long did it take? How long did you do the therapy?
So,
let me ask.
Therapy I did for a couple of months, but the EMDR technique, I only did that maybe 1 or 2 sessions.
Okay.
Some people it takes longer, but I was able to get it because I was ready to address it. I just didn't know how to address it. So finally, when someone else held me accountable for addressing it, I was like, okay, let's figure this out. And it only took 1 or 2 visits for that. So
therapy for you?
Yeah, so I did therapy for probably about 6 months.
Okay.
But I did a combination of all the therapies. Our family did a support group as a family, like I said, that Monday after she passed. I did art therapy with my siblings where we just put it all in paint. We just painted our feelings. My children went to grief therapy as well because our mom was staying with me a month before the month of May. She stayed in our home. And so she had time to spend with her grandkids and all those things. But they needed therapy. So I did grief therapy for my children. I did individual therapy as well. I did it for about 6 months.
Wow. Listen, I wish we had more time. I know y'all thinking like, Pastor, it's over. Yeah.
I don't know. It's fine. We appreciate you.
No, we got it. No. There's got to be a part 2, 3, and 4 to this.
Okay.
Right. There's got to be a part 2, 3, and 4. Y'all are vocal about your mother's transitioning. Disease, demonic decisions. I mean, when we think of suicide, there's so many things that we, try to tag to it. But like, you went and got help immediately. I don't know, because I had a church member that her transition was that way. Yeah, so, and I had to figure some things out, and that's why the church is on the forefront of mental health now, because of that situation. But wow, I need to unpack this story. I want your book, though. What's the name of your book before we get out of here?
So it's called My Stones.
My Stones.
My Stones, and it talks about the children of Israel when they crossed. They had stones.
They had stones.
The point is that every time you have a successful story, you have a stone, and it's a memorial of what you overcame. So that book for me, it's not just about my mom, but it's just talking about all the things that God saved me through and helped me through. And so that's what the stones are. Gotcha.
We about to get into our next show. Come on in here, Natisha Brooks, running for mayor. Meet these 2 lovely ladies. Meet these 2 lovely. Oh my God! 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 On this the Yolanda and Cornelius show. We about to get into our next show, but Natisha Brooks.
We have that all the time in here.
Right. The rapport. Natisha, have you heard these ladies' story?
Oh, these are my girls.
But no, have you heard their story? Have you heard their story?
No, I haven't heard the story. Ready?
No, we ain't got time.
Okay, let's do it.
But no. Their mother
took her life. She took her life 2
You
years
told
ago.
me.
Okay.
You told me the story.
Okay. So listen, y'all. My time is up. I'm not out of talk. Lexus, Sade, when we gonna do this again?
Whenever.
No, don't say whenever, because every Tuesday I'm in here, and then on Wednesday, hold up, on Wednesday, I'm everywhere. Like, I can always podcast from anywhere and everywhere. I know it, Ron. I'm tripping. So, listen, we're going to get off of here. Natisha's in here. I want Natisha, Alexis, and Sade to do the little greeting thing again. Thank you for tuning in to the Yolanda and Cornelius show. And y'all believe me when I say mental health does what?
Matter.
And these two young ladies are proud to share with the community that they're survivors of mental health. And they are healing, let me say that.
Not survivors, but we thriving.
Oh, they thriving. They're not survivors. They are thrivers.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for tuning into the Yolanda and Cornelius show.
Thank you. Thank you. We met on the
That was
Stars. Do you remember that?
Yes.
The Nashville Thrive.
That's
Yes.